Dr. Velix of the Chromian Collective had spent 37 galactic cycles studying the sleep patterns of sentient species. It was considered a niche field, even among xenobiologists. His people, the Chromians, required only 2 hours of rest during their planet's long twilight, a period of passive data reorganization that was efficient, quiet, and safe. Sleep for them was a gentle pause. He had been assigned to the Terran Observation Post, a sterile orbital laboratory hovering 400 kilometers above a continent the humans called Europe. His mission was simple: document the nocturnal habits of Homo sapiens. The Galactic Science Council had flagged Earth as a Tier 3 civilization, intelligent but primitive. They were not yet ready for contact, but their biology was considered a curiosity. For the first 7 nights, Velix observed, he used passive quantum resonance scanners to map the brain activity, muscular atonia, and metabolic shifts of his designated subjects. A family of 4 residing in a city called London. The data stream was steady, unremarkable. The humans would cease motion, close their optical organs, and remain stationary for 7 to 9 hours. It seemed wasteful, even dangerous. A predator could approach, a rival tribe could attack, yet they did it every single night without fail. Velix filed his preliminary report: species exhibits mandatory daily catatonia, possible evolutionary oversight. Recommend further study. On the 23rd night, Velix noticed the anomaly. It was subtle at first, a flicker in the delta wave patterns of the male subject. During the deepest phase of the human's catatonia, his brain did not simply rest, it reorganized. But it was not the passive data sorting of the Chromians. It was aggressive. Vectors of electrical fire erupted from the hippocampus and swept across the cortex like a solar flare. The human's eyes, hidden behind closed lids, began to dart rapidly back and forth. Velix recalibrated his sensors, assuming a malfunction. The readings persisted. He watched as the human's mind constructed entire realities. He saw, through the crude interpretive filter of his scanner, the shadow of a landscape, a beach, a face, a conversation that never happened. The human was not resting. The human was experiencing. It was hallucinating with perfect clarity while completely paralyzed. This was not sleep. This was something else. Velix spent the next 3 cycles cross-referencing the data against the collective's entire library of xenoneurology. There was no precedent. Other species dreamt, of course. The Filari of Proxima b replayed daily events in fragmented bursts. The Aquion drifters processed environmental data through passive osmosis. But the humans were doing something fundamentally different. They were narrativizing. The male human, a construction engineer named David, did not simply replay his day. He edited it. He placed himself in scenarios that never occurred. He spoke with the deceased. He revisited childhood homes. He fought battles he had never fought and won wars he had never waged. His brain was actively rewriting his own history, reshaping his identity, and simulating futures that had not yet been written. Velix observed the female human, Sarah. Her dreams were darker. In her catatonic state, she ran through endless forests, pursued by shadows. She relived moments of failure, of shame, of grief. But each time, she survived. Each time, she woke. Her mind was systematically exposing her to poison and forcing her to develop an antidote. The children were the most alarming. The male offspring, age 7, dreamt of flying. His young brain constructed impossible physics, violating the laws of momentum and gravity. He soared over cities, through clouds, across oceans. He was not bound by reality. He was practicing the art of the impossible. The female offspring, age 4, did not yet possess the linguistic complexity of her parents, yet in her sleep her brain generated symphonies of pattern and color. She was not hallucinating images. She was hallucinating meaning, shapes that represented love, colors that signified safety, rhythms that translated to trust. Velix stopped eating. He stopped his own brief periods of data reorganization. He sat at his console, his 3 hearts beating in uneven rhythm, and he watched. He watched David wake one morning, yawn and complain of a poor night's rest. He watched the human shrug off 8 hours of internal warfare as if it were a minor inconvenience. He watched him drink a bitter brown liquid, kiss his offspring, and depart for a structure of steel and glass where he would spend the next 10 hours manipulating the physical world. And David did this every single day. Velix compiled his findings. He drafted a report for the Galactic Science Council. He wrote the title, paused, and deleted it. He wrote it again. He sat in silence for a full Chromian hour, which was the equivalent of 12 Earth minutes. His claws trembled as he typed the final summary. Hypothesis: human sleep is not a period of vulnerability. It is a period of maintenance. Their minds do not turn off. Their minds turn inward. They use this time to inoculate themselves against trauma, to simulate threat responses, to rehearse survival. They wake each morning not as the same individual who lay down, but as an updated version. They are continuously patching their own firmware. They are debugging their own code. They are running combat simulations against an invisible enemy in preparation for a war that has not yet begun. Recommendation: reclassify Homo sapiens from Tier 3 Curiosity to Tier 1. Extreme caution. Do not, under any circumstances, allow them to discover that they are alone in the universe. If they perceive a collective external threat, their capacity for coordinated, narrativized preparation is unknown. But if their dreams are any indication, it is absolute. Velix transmitted the report. He waited. The response came 17 hours later, during the human dawn. It was not from the Science Council, it was from the Collective Security Directorate. Your findings are noted. You will remain at your post. You will continue observation. You will not initiate contact. You will not reveal your presence. We are dispatching a strategic analysis team to your location. Do not alarm the subjects. Do not engage. Await further instruction. Velix looked at the blue-green planet below. The humans were waking. He watched the lights of their cities flicker on in the grey morning, millions of them, rising from their catatonic states, stretching their limbs and preparing once more to shape the world. He had arrived to study a biological curiosity. He had discovered a species that weaponized the night. The strategic analysis team arrived on the 48th day. They were not scientists. They were tacticians, members of the collective Silent Cadre, a branch so secret that even Velix, a certified xenobiologist with top-tier clearance, had only ever encountered their existence in heavily redacted historical documents. They travelled in a ship that emitted no radiation, displaced no quantum particles, and generated no gravity wake. It simply appeared in the docking bay of the observation post. There were 3 of them. Their names were classified even among themselves. Velix was instructed to address them only by their operational designations, Arch, Lumin, and Solus. They did not greet him. They did not request a summary of his findings. They immediately accessed his raw data streams and began their own analysis, their multifaceted eyes scanning terabytes of sleep pattern encryption in the time it took Velix to articulate a single syllable. Arch was the first to speak. Its voice was a flat, synthetic monotone, stripped of the emotional inflections that Chromians use to convey rapport. The frequency is accelerating. Velix tilted his primary sensory cluster in confusion. Frequency, rapid eye movement cycles, nightmare density, threat simulation recurrence. The male subject, David. 7 weeks ago, his amygdala activated at a rate of rear 0.3 events per sleep hour. Current rate, 1.7 events per sleep hour. He is running more simulations. He is preparing for something. Lumen, the smallest of the 3, hovered closer to the display. Its appendages, thin and precise, traced the neural pathways of Sarah's most recent dream cycle. The female subject is consolidating trauma, old memories, childhood patterns. She is revisiting sites of early emotional injury and reframing them. She is rewriting her own history to reduce its future impact. This is not merely inoculation. This is preemptive psychological warfare against her own past. Solus remained silent. It stood apart from the others, its carapace a dull, non-reflective black. It did not look at the data. It looked at the planet. The children, Solus said. It was not a question. Velix activated the scans of the 7-year-old male and the 4-year-old female. The data streams were chaotic, beautiful, and utterly alien. The juvenile subjects, Velix began, display increased neuroplasticity during sleep. Their brains are not yet specialized. They are capable of generating... They are building worlds, Solus interrupted, not simulating threats, not rehearsing survival. They are constructing alternate realities from raw imagination. The male child has created a persistent internal environment he visits nightly. He has populated it with companions. He has established rules, geography, history. He has been building this world for approximately 1,163 Earth days. Since he was 4 years old, Velix had not extrapolated that conclusion. He had seen the flight patterns, the impossible physics, but he had not understood the scope. A persistent internal reality, maintained and expanded over years. A secondary existence running parallel to his waking life. And the female? Lumen asked. She is younger, Solus said. Her secondary world is less structured, who fills with it is primarily sensory, but she is already learning to associate emotional states with abstract representations. She is learning to think in metaphor. She is learning to encode meaning in symbol. The cadre was silent for a long moment. Velix's heart beat faster. This is not unique to these subjects, Arch stated. This is species-wide. We have cross-referenced your local data with the collective's limited pre-contact anthropological archives. Every human population engages in this behavior every night for their entire lifespan. The implications, Lumen said, are unacceptable. Solus turned from the viewing port. Its black carapace seemed to absorb the light of the observation deck, creating a small pocket of absolute darkness. You are a biologist, Dr. Velix. You observe what is. We are strategists. We project what will be. Allow us to reframe your discovery. Humans are not conscious only when they are awake. They are conscious in two distinct states: external consciousness, which interacts with physical reality, and internal consciousness, which interacts with simulated reality. These two states are not hierarchical. They are complementary. They feed each other. During external consciousness, humans acquire data. They experience events. They form memories. During internal consciousness, they process this data through rigorous simulation. They identify threats. They formulate responses. They test hypotheses. They rehearse skills. They repair emotional damage. They integrate new information into existing mental frameworks. This is not sleep. This is a second life. Every human lives twice, once in the physical world and once in the world they construct within their own mind. The second life is not constrained by physics, by resources, or by time. In their second life, they can be anyone. They can do anything. They can die 1,000 deaths and wake each morning to try again. And they have been doing this for approximately 300,000 years. Velix's respiratory system seized. He had not projected the timeline. He had not understood the depth. 300,000 years, he whispered, of daily combat simulation, of strategic rehearsal, of psychological hardening. Yes, Solus said. And you wonder why we are afraid. Arch reactivated the data stream, zooming out from the individual subjects to a continental overview. Millions of points of light flickered across the night side of the planet, each one a human brain engaged in its second life. We have analyzed the aggregate content of human dreams across all observable populations, Arch said. The dominant themes are consistent across cultures, ages, and genders. Threat, loss, conflict, pursuit, falling, attack, death. These are not the dreams of a peaceful species. These are the dreams of a species that expects to be attacked, that is perpetually preparing for war, that wakes each morning grateful to have survived the night, and yet, Lumen interjected, they are not at war. They have achieved relative planetary stability. Their major conflicts are localized, brief, and increasingly rare. They have no external enemy. They have no predator species. They are the dominant life form on their planet. So why do they dream of combat? Velix's vocal modulator crackled. Perhaps, he said, it is inherited memory. Their evolutionary history was brutal. They were prey before they were predators. Their ancestors slept in trees, in caves, in constant fear of larger, faster, stronger species. Perhaps the fear is encoded in their genes. Perhaps they dream of saber-toothed cats because their great-grandmothers were eaten by them. Perhaps, Solus agreed. Or perhaps the fear is not of the past. Perhaps it is of the future. The cadre exchanged a look that Velix could not interpret. We have observed a secondary pattern, Arch said. In approximately 0.04% of the population, the boundary between external and internal consciousness becomes permeable. These individuals do not merely dream. They incubate. They maintain awareness of their physical surroundings while remaining in the simulated state. They can interact with both realities simultaneously. We call them lucid dreamers. The humans have a word for it as well. These individuals are rare, but their existence proves that the barrier is not fixed. It can be crossed, and if a few individuals can cross it voluntarily, it is possible that the entire species could be trained to do so. Velix's mind raced. Trained? By whom? By themselves, Solus said. They are already training. Every night they practice. Every night they become more proficient at constructing and navigating internal realities. Every generation, the dreams become more complex, more structured, more intentional. We have analyzed the dream content of humans across their lifespan. Children dream of flying, of magic, of impossible things. Adolescents dream of social conflict, of identity, of the future. Adults dream of work, of family, of responsibility. The elderly dream of the past, of lost loved ones, of resolution. The content evolves, but the capacity does not diminish, it refines. Quote, Don Lumin spoke softly. We have calculated a projection. At their current rate of neurological evolution, assuming no intervention, the average human will achieve voluntary lucidity within approximately 400 Earth years. Within 1,000 years, the distinction between waking and dreaming will become optional. Within 5,000 years, it will cease to exist entirely. They will live in both worlds, always. They will shape reality with the same ease that they now shape dreams, and they will wonder why they ever thought the physical world was the only one that mattered. Solus turned from the viewing port. Its voice was quiet, but it carried a weight that pressed against Velix's chest. You asked us here to assess the threat, Doctor. We have completed our assessment. The threat is not that humans dream of war. The threat is that they are learning to make their dreams real. They have already weaponized their sleep. Soon they will weaponize their imagination. And when they do, they will not need starships. They will not need weapons. They will simply look at the galaxy and decide that it should be different. And it will be. We cannot allow this. Velix's vocal modulator failed. He tried to speak, to protest, to defend the tiny, fragile species sleeping peacefully below them, but no sound emerged. We are not executioners, Solus said. We are strategists. We do not destroy threats. We neutralize them. There is a difference. Quote, what do you intend, Velix finally managed. We intend to study them further, to understand the mechanism, to determine if the capacity can be suppressed, to determine if it can be harvested. Quote, harvested, end of quote. Their dreams are data, Doctor. Data is resource. Resource is power. The collective has spent 10,000 cycles developing artificial intelligence. The humans generate intelligence naturally, organically, every night. They dream new solutions to problems they have not yet encountered. They dream new technologies. They dream new philosophies. They dream new ways of being. We have accessed their creative output. The human you call David is a structural engineer. 3 nights ago, he dreamed a solution to a stress-load imbalance in a bridge design that has troubled him for weeks. He will wake tomorrow and implement it. The dream solved the problem. The female Sarah is a teacher. She dreamed a method of communicating complex mathematical concepts to children with learning disabilities. She will test it next week. If it works, it will spread. It will improve the educational outcomes of thousands of humans. The children, as we have established, are building worlds. This is not merely survival preparation. This is innovation. This is evolution. This is a species that has discovered how to conduct research and development while their bodies are at rest, and they have no idea they are doing it. The cadre turned as one to face the viewing port. The earth rotated slowly below them, blue and white and achingly beautiful. "We will remain here," Arch said. "We will expand the observation parameters. We will catalogue every dream, every innovation, every simulated reality. We will map the boundaries of their internal consciousness. And when we understand it, we will decide what to do with it." Velik stood alone at his console long after the cadre had departed to their silent ship. He watched the lights of London flicker in the pre-dawn darkness. He thought of David, dreaming of bridges. He thought of Sarah, dreaming of children. He thought of the boy, dreaming of flight. He thought of the girl, dreaming in colours and shapes and rhythms that had no names. He thought of 300,000 years of dreams, accumulated in the genetic memory of a species that still believed itself ordinary. He thought of the collective's fear, and he understood it for the first time. They were not afraid of what the humans were. They were afraid of what the humans would become. 312 Earth days passed. Velix continued his observations, but the cadre had assumed control of the mission. His role had been reduced to data maintenance and equipment calibration. He was a biologist reduced to a technician, a scientist reduced to a witness. He watched the humans live their double lives. David completed the bridge. It was a graceful arc of steel and concrete, spanning a wide river in the heart of the city. He stood at the dedication ceremony, his family beside him, and watched the first cars cross the structure he had dreamed into existence. He did not know where the solution had come from. He only knew that he had woken one morning with the answer clear in his mind, as if it had been waiting for him. Sarah implemented her teaching method. It worked. The children who had struggled with division and fractions began to understand. The method spread to other classrooms, other schools, other cities. Sarah received an award. She stood before her colleagues and spoke of patience, of creativity, of the importance of seeing the world through a child's eyes. She did not mention the dreams. The boy, whose name was Oliver, continued to visit his secondary world. He had named it Airthis. It had continents and oceans, cities and wilderness, languages and laws. He had populated it with companions who knew him only as the visitor, the one who came when the sky darkened and brought news of another place. He did not tell his parents. He did not tell his teachers. He drew maps in secret and hid them under his bed. The girl, whose name was Maya, had begun to speak in her sleep. Velix recorded her utterances, translated them through primitive linguistic algorithms, and discovered that she was composing poetry. She was 4 years old. She had never been taught what poetry was, yet her sleeping mind arranged words in patterns of rhythm and meaning that made Velix's 3 hearts ache with incomprehensible longing. The cadre watched. They catalogued. They waited. And then, on the 313th day, everything changed. It began as a minor anomaly in the planetary magnetic field, a fluctuation too small to be detected by human instruments, but impossible to miss from the observation post. Velix noted it in his log and continued his calibration. 30 minutes later, the fluctuation intensified. 60 minutes later, the cadre emerged from their ship. They did not walk. They accelerated, moving with a speed and purpose that Velix had never witnessed. Their appendages were extended, their sensory arrays fully deployed, their carapaces shimmering with barely contained energy. "The barrier is thinning," Arch said. "Something is pressing against it." "What barrier?" Velix asked. "The boundary between external and internal consciousness. It is a planetary phenomenon, a field generated by the aggregate dream activity of the species. We have been monitoring its density and permeability since our arrival. It has been stable for centuries. It is no longer stable. Lumen was already at the primary console, manipulating data streams with desperate precision. The source is localized: Northern Hemisphere, Western Quadrant. Population density: high. Specific coordinates: the residence of subjects Oliver and Maya. Velix's hearts stopped. The children? Solus did not speak. It simply opened a quantum resonance feed and displayed the raw neurological output of the two juvenile subjects. Oliver was dreaming, but it was not the structured, persistent world of Erithis that filled his sleeping mind. It was something else, something new. He was standing at the edge of his bed, in his physical bedroom, in the physical world. But he was also standing in Arthis, on a cliff overlooking an ocean that did not exist. And he was also standing in a third place, a place that was neither waking nor dreaming, neither physical nor simulated. He was standing in the barrier itself, his young mind, unburdened by the certainty that such things were impossible, had simply decided that the boundary was arbitrary. He had reached out, in his sleep, and touched it, and it had yielded. Maya was with him, not in body. Her physical form remained curled beneath her blankets, her small chest rising and falling in peaceful rhythm, but her consciousness, her awareness, herself, was standing beside her brother at the threshold between worlds. She was still composing poetry, but now the poetry was becoming real. "The barrier is not merely thinning," Lumen whispered. "It is responding. It recognizes them. It is making way for them. They are not breaking the boundary. They are being welcomed through it." Their energy output spiked, drowning Velix's senses in white noise. They were communicating, but not in language, in pure data, exchanged at speeds that exceeded the capacity of chromium neural architecture. Velix could only watch. Oliver raised his hand. In the physical world, his 7-year-old fingers remained still beneath the blanket, but in the barrier, in the threshold, in the space between, his hand extended toward the shimmering fabric of reality itself. He did not grasp it. He asked, and the barrier answered. A wave of energy erupted from the children's residence. It was not destructive. It was not aggressive. It was generative. It radiated outward in concentric rings, washing over the city, the continent, the planet. It passed through walls and flesh and bone without resistance. It passed through Velix's observation post without damage. It passed through him, and for a single, eternal moment, Velix understood. He understood that the humans were not evolving toward lucidity. They had always been lucid. They had simply forgotten. They had buried their capacity for world-shaping beneath layers of civilization and technology and the mundane demands of survival. They had traded the infinite for the efficient. They had traded magic for comfort. But the capacity was still there. It was encoded in their genes, etched into the architecture of their neurons, waiting for the moment when it would be needed. And Oliver, a 7-year-old boy who dreamed of flying, had decided that the moment was now. The wave passed. The barrier stabilized. Oliver's consciousness withdrew from the threshold, pulling his sister gently with him. They returned to their dreams, Erithis and colors, and the comfortable boundaries of childhood imagination. The cadre stood motionless. Their energy output had returned to baseline, but their posture radiated something Velix had never observed in members of the silent cadre: uncertainty. The event has concluded, Arch stated. The subjects have returned to normative sleep patterns. No residual damage detected. No lasting permeability observed. But it happened, Lumen said. We witnessed it. The barrier responded to a direct request from a juvenile human. It recognized his authority. It yielded to his will. He did not command it, Solus said. He asked. There is a difference. He did not seek to control the barrier. He sought to understand it. He sought to be part of it. And it welcomed him. The cadre exchanged another look, laden with implications that Velix could not fully pass. Our initial projection was incorrect, Solus continued. We assumed that the capacity for voluntary lucidity would develop gradually, over centuries, through incremental neurological evolution. We assumed that humans would need to learn how to cross the boundary. The boundary does not need to be crossed. It needs to be remembered. The children did not learn anything tonight. They remembered something that their species has always known. The adults have forgotten. The trauma of waking life, the demands of survival, the weight of responsibility, these have obscured their inheritance. But the children are still close to the source. They still carry the memory of what their ancestors could do. And they are teaching each other. Velix found his voice. Teaching? Oliver did not discover